Please be seated. All right. Good afternoon. This is the 2 p.m. calendar for February the 25th. The court's orders for taking the fingerprints and DNA samples made on the first calendar of the month apply to all the hearings. We have an interpreter matter.
Yes, Your Honor. Ofelia Fernández, Spanish Court Interpreter. Esta es la comparecencia inicial, el calendario de las 2 de la tarde del día 25 de febrero, la orden para la muestra de ADN y de toma de huellas dactilares que se emitió el primer día del mes está vigente para todas las causas.
Ángel Pérez Torres.
Ángel Pérez Torres, pase.
Sir, please state your name and your date of birth.
Señor, diga su nombre y su fecha de nacimiento.
Ángel Leonardo Pérez Torres, el 6/9 de 1990.
The interpreter just needs to verify. Dijo Ángel Pérez Torres, ¿dijo un segundo nombre?
Ángel Leonardo Pérez Torres.
Ángel Leonardo Pérez Torres, 6/9/1990, assisted by Ofelia Fernández, court interpreter.
Sir, you've been charged with taking the identity of another, obstructing criminal investigation, false reporting to law enforcement officer, and failure to provide driver's license.
A usted se le acusa de usurpación de identidad ajena, obstruir una investigación en materia penal, presentar denuncia falsa a un agente de policía y el no mostrar su licencia de conducir.
The court has found probable cause for these charges.
El juez ha determinado que hay motivo de procesamiento para estas acusaciones.
I am going to release you on your own recognizance.
Lo voy a dejar en libertad bajo caución juratoria.
That is your promise that you will appear at the next court dates.
Eso significa que usted promete que se presentará en las próximas audiencias que tiene programadas.
Sí, señor.
Your next
Yes,
court
sir.
date will be a status conference on March the 12th at 8:30, and a preliminary hearing on March the 14th at 8:30 in the Downtown Justice Center.
Sus próximas audiencias serán una consulta de actualización el 12 de marzo a las 8:30 y una audiencia preliminar el 14 de marzo a las 8:30. Ambas serán en el juzgado del centro de Phoenix.
The address of the court and the dates and times will be on the release order you're given.
La dirección, la fecha y la hora de dichas audiencias está incluida en la documentación que usted recibirá junto con las medidas cautelares.
Okay.
Do you have any questions, sir?
¿Tiene alguna pregunta?
No, debe asistir toda la cita que me van a poner.
¿Puede repetir su pregunta?
Que voy a asistir a todas las citas que me van a poner, colocar.
No, I'll be there for all the appointments that you're setting up.
Thank you, sir. The deputy will give you some paperwork. You can step back where you were.
Le entregarán la documentación, pase a donde estaba anteriormente. Thank you.
Man, interpreter, you want to inquire whether or not anybody else needs these services of an interpreter?
Happy to do so, Your Honor. ¿Hay alguien más en la sala que necesite la ayuda del intérprete? Levante la mano, por favor.
Okay, doesn't look like anybody has done that. Thank you very much for your help, madam.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
All right, now we're going to proceed one at a time. But I'm going to have somebody else sit in the chair when you kind of like the on-deck circle in baseball. So first, we're going to have Grethel Quesada and then Kayla Parsons sit in the chair by the door. So first, Ms. Quesada. Please state your name and date of birth.
It's Gretel Quesada, March 3rd, 1980.
All right, ma'am, you've been charged with shoplifting with an artifice, a Class 4 felony, and possession of drug paraphernalia, Class 6 felony. The court has found probable cause for these offenses. I am appointing the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in this case. I'm going to release you to pretrial services. That will require you to keep in contact with them, check in with them. They'll help you, remind you of the court dates. Your next court dates will be a status conference on March the 12th at 8:30, followed by a preliminary hearing on March the 14th at 8:30 in the expedited drug court in downtown Phoenix. You're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You have no contact with any of the witnesses. You're not to initiate any contact with the arresting officers. You're not to possess or use any illegal drugs without a valid prescription, or drive a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license. You must continue to provide the court with your local address. Do you have any questions, ma'am?
No.
Okay.
I put myself in a rehab, so I have to keep them informed as well.
Okay, keep them informed. There will be an envelope that the officer will give you. We'll have contact information for pretrial services. Contact them, and you can tell them about the rehab and all of that.
Okay.
All right, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Step back there. Ms. Parsons, and then Jesus Zavala to the chair by the door. Ma'am, please state your name and your date of birth.
My name is Kayla Parsons, 08/25/1992.
All right, ma'am, you've been charged with possession of dangerous drugs, a Class 4 felony, possession of drug paraphernalia, Class 6 felony, and false reporting to a law enforcement officer, Class 1 misdemeanor. I have found probable cause for these charges at this point. I have appointed the public defender to represent you. You are going to be released on your own recognizance. That is your promise to appear and make your court dates. You promise to do that, ma'am?
I promise.
All right. Your next court date will be a status conference on March the 12th, followed by a preliminary hearing on March the 14th, both in the Downtown Justice Center. As far as some of the release conditions, all of them will be on the release order, but you're not to have any contact or initiate any contact with any arresting officer. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription. You're not to drive a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license. And you continue to provide the court with proof of your local address. Do you have any questions, ma'am?
I do not.
All right. You step over, you can go back to the deputy will give you some paperwork. Jesus Zavala, followed by Rihanna Mendoza. Good afternoon, sir. Please state your name
Jesus A. Favela,
and your date of birth, sir.
4/19/1976.
All right, sir. You've been charged with possessing narcotic drugs, possessing dangerous drugs, both Class 4 felonies, as well as possession of drug paraphernalia, Class 6 felony. I have appointed the public defender to represent you. On this case, you're going to be released on your own recognizance. That's your promise to make all your court dates. Do you promise to do that, sir?
Yes, sir.
You're not to initiate any contact with any arresting officer, possess any drugs without a valid prescription. You're not to drive a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license, and continue to provide proof of a local address. Your next court dates will be a status conference on March the 12th and a preliminary hearing on March the 14th at 8:30 in the Downtown Justice Center. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right. The officer will give you some paperwork.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Ms. Mendoza, followed by James Malarski.
Good afternoon.
Okay, ma'am, please state your name.
Brianna Karina Mendoza, December 19th, 2000.
All right. You have two cases, the first of which you're charged with possessing drug paraphernalia, a Class 1 misdemeanor. The court has found probable, well, this is a warrant arrest. At this point, I'm not appointing an attorney for you. This will be something, if the city court wants to do that, they can do that. I'm going to release you on your own recognizance on this case. Your next court date on this case will be an arraignment hearing in the Buckeye Municipal Court on March the 11th at 2 p.m. The court date will be on the paperwork that you'll be given, and you make sure you make that court date. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Oh, that's fine.
Sorry.
That's fine. It's just when you say or something like that.
I know, it's not proper.
Well, it doesn't pick up on the recording.
All right.
All right. Your next case, ma'am, is a possession of narcotic drugs, Class 4 felony, possession of drug paraphernalia, Class 6 felony. The court's found probable cause. On that case, I'm appointing the Maricopa County Public Defender to represent you. On that case, you're going to be released to pretrial services. That means you'll be released, but you'll need to keep in contact with them. You'll be given directions on how to do that. It'll be an envelope that the officer will give you. So make sure you keep in contact with them and make your court dates. Your next court date on that case is a status conference on March the 12th at 8:30, followed by a preliminary hearing on March the 14th at 8:30. On that case, you're not to initiate any contact with any arresting officers, possess any drugs without a valid prescription, not to drive without a valid driver's license. You're also to submit to a 10-point fingerprint at the arresting police department. That information will all be on the paperwork that you'll be given. Do you have any questions, ma'am?
No, ma'am. No, sir.
Okay. The officer will give you some paperwork. Make sure you keep in contact with pretrial services, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, next, James Malarski, followed by Joshua Rose. Sir, please state your name.
James Alejandro Malarski, 08/23/2000.
All right. So you're here on three cases, two looks like probation violations and one new case. We'll take the new case first, the 2025 case. On that case, you're charged with aggravated driving under the influence of intoxicating liquor or drugs while license suspended or revoked. It's a Class 4 felony.
Mm-hmm.
On that case, I've appointed the public defender to represent you. On that case, the court has set a secured appearance bond of $2,500. Your next court date on that case will be a status conference on March the 3rd at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on March the 6th, also at 8:30. That'll be in the EDC in downtown Phoenix. As far as release conditions, no contact, not to initiate any contact with any arresting officer, not to possess any weapons of any type, not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription, not to drive without a valid driver's license. Since you're currently on probation, if you do post the bond on these three cases, you're to contact the probation department within 72 hours. Let's take the next case, and then I'll have any questions at the end. Your next case is the 2023-583 case. On that case, you're here on a probation violation for a Class 6 felony. The bond on that case has been set at $1,500. The release conditions are the same. Your next court date on that case will be a probation revocation hearing and a disposition hearing both on March 4th at 8:30 in the Superior Court in downtown Phoenix. Your other 2023 probation violation, Indian 662, is also a Class 6 felony probation violation. The bond on that case has also been set at $1,500, and the release conditions are all the same. Your court date on that case is also a revocation arraignment and a disposition hearing on March the 4th at 8:30 in the downtown Superior Court. Do you have any questions, sir?
So, pretty much not getting released, right?
Not without posting the bond, sir. You can have your release conditions reviewed at the next court date when you meet with your attorney.
All right.
All right. So the officer will give you some paperwork, sir. Joshua Rose, followed by Francisco Valeta. Sir, please state your name
Joshua Connor Rose,
and your date of birth, sir.
4/28/98.
All right, sir, you've been charged with burglary in the third degree, a Class 4 felony, taking the identity of another Class 4 felony, and theft, a Class 6 felony. The court has found probable cause on those charges. The court has appointed the public defender to represent you on this case. Your bond has been set in the amount of $2,500. If you post the bond on that case, you'd have no contact with any alleged victims, initiating contact with any arresting officers. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription. You're not to drive a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license, and you continue to provide proof of a local address. Your next court date on this case will be a status conference on March the 3rd at 8:30, followed by a preliminary hearing on March the 6th at 8:30 in the Superior Court in downtown Phoenix. Do you have any questions about this case, sir?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. She'll give you some paperwork.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Mr. Valeta, followed by Daniel Dunmeyer. Good afternoon, sir. Please state your name
Francisco Valeta,
and your date of birth, sir.
7797.
All right, sir, you're here on 3 cases, the first of which is a new case where you're charged with possession of narcotic drugs, a Class 4 felony, and and theft, a Class 5 felony. The court has found probable cause on the theft charge only. The court has appointed the public defender to represent you on this case. On this case, on the new case, you've been given a secured appearance bond of $500. If you post the bond, you're not to initiate any contact with any victims. You're not to initiate contact with any arresting officers. You're not to possess any drugs without a valid prescription. You continue to provide proof of your local address. And if you are released, you're to contact the probation department within 72 hours. Now we'll get on to the probation violation matters. The first 2022-009 matter. On that case, you're here on a probation violation for a Class 6 felony. Once again, a public defender has been appointed to represent you. On that case, you also have a $500 cash bond. On that case, your next court date is March the 4th at 8:30 for a revocation arraignment possible disposition hearing in the Downtown Justice Center. The release conditions are basically the same on this case as well. Lastly, your second probation violation in the looks like 695 matter. The bond on that case has also been set at $500. The release conditions are all the same, and your court date on that case is the same as your other probation violation, which is March the 4th. Do you have any questions, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, she'll give you some paperwork, sir. Mr. Dunmeyer, followed by Jordan Victor.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, sir. Please state your name
Daniel Lewis Dunmeyer,
and your date of birth.
6/16/88.
All right. Sir, you've been charged with possession of dangerous drugs and possession of narcotic drugs, both Class 4 felonies, possession of drug paraphernalia, Class 6 felony, and also failure to appear. Your next court date, and I'm not appointing counsel in this case, that'll be up to the Coconino County Superior Court. Your next court date is an arraignment hearing on February the 28th in the Flagstaff Justice Court up in Coconino County. I have affirmed the bond that Coconino County set, which is $10,000, the security appearance bond, which is what Coconino County has requested. If you post the bond, you need to make sure you make your court dates, have no contact with any victim or witness, or possess any drugs without any valid prescription. Do you have any questions, sir?
The only question I have is, so I was a ward on that case on the 29th, and I was immediately picked up by Maricopa, and I've been here ever since.
And I understand that, sir, and I think they were aware of that. But when it's an out-of-county warrant, I have very little discretion. When you go to court on the 28th, and it's only going to be in 3 days, I think that's something the judge could definitely take into account. But since he's got jurisdiction in Coconino County and I don't, I really can only affirm the bond on this case.
Okay.
But if you bring all that up at your next court date, I think that is something I think you and your attorney will have maybe some luck with. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Do you have any other questions, sir?
So they have 3 days to come get me here?
Your next court date is February the 20th, so they should come and get you if you don't post the bond.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. All right, Jordan Victor, followed by Eduardo Quijada Chavarrin. Sir, please state your name.
Jordan Lee Victor. My birthday is 11/6/1987.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you've been charged with possession of drug paraphernalia, class 6 felony. It's a probation violation. I have appointed the public defender to represent you. Your next court date on this case will be a non-witness violation hearing and disposition hearing on March the 4th at 8:30 in the downtown Superior Court building. At this time, a secured appearance bond of $500 has been set in your case. If you post the bond, you don't have to have any contact with any arresting officers, possess any weapons, or possess any drugs without a valid prescription. You're also, if you post the bond, to contact the probation department within 72 hours. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, sir.
All right. The officer will give you some paperwork, sir. All right. Eduardo Quijada Chavarrin. Sir, please state your name.
Eduardo Quijada Chavarrin.
And your date of birth.
March 17, 1970.
So you've been charged with possessing dangerous drugs or transporting dangerous drugs with the intent to sell them. It's a class 2 felony. I have appointed the public defender to represent you. On this case, I have found probable cause. On this case, you're not bondable because you had a drug diversion program that you were on at the time this offense occurred. So at this time, you're going to be held without bond. You will have an evidentiary hearing to determine whether or not the no bond status should continue. The evidentiary hearing will be set for March the 4th at 1:30. But your next immediate court date is a status conference on March the 3rd at 8:30 and a preliminary hearing on March the 6th. If the judge changes the non-bondable status, he'll give you additional release conditions. Do you have any questions, sir?
No.
All right. The officer will give you some paperwork. All right. Lastly, Pedro Jimenez. Sir, please state your name.
Pedro Jimenez, August 22nd, 1992.
All right. Thank you, sir. Sir, you've been charged with 4 offenses, 5 counts altogether. The first count is aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, a class 3 dangerous felony. The next one is an endangerment, a class 6 felony. 2 counts of discharging a firearm within the city limits, a class 6 felony, and disorderly conduct, a class 6 felony. The court has found probable causes to those offenses. I have appointed the public defender to represent you. On this case, there's been a secured appearance bond set of $150,000. If that bond is posted, you're subject to pretrial services with electronic monitoring, the electronic monitoring to be installed before you are released from custody. If you are released from custody, you don't have to have any contact or initiate any contact with the alleged victim or witness. You don't have to have any contact with any complainant or any contact with any arresting officers. You do not possess any weapons of any type. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, sir.
All right, the officer will give you some paperwork, sir.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes the 2 p.m. calendar for February the 25th. The court will be in recess until the 5 p.m. calendar.
Hey guys, I'm gonna transfer you guys over to Connecticut. All right.